What's good? It's Extreme Caution. Today I'm going to go over my official WWE NXT The Great American Bash review. I'm going to go over every match on the card, what I overall thought of the overall PLE, how great I thought each match was, what I thought of feuds, and what I could think leading after each and every match. If you like daily wrestling content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to go and jump straight into the review. The opening match starts off with Javon Evans versus Joshua Troy. This match was fine. It was a solid match. The match story that they've been telling really is just that Joshua Troy being the more dominant force, attacking the rib injury of Javon Evans, and Javon Evans being the sympathetic babyface, trying to overcome the rib injury, overcome some adversity. They did exactly what I thought they was going to do, which was have Javon Evans win for whatever reason I don't understand. He wins by rolling up Joshua Troy, so I'm assuming they're going to continue this feud. I'm going to be honest here. I really am about to jump off the Joshua Troy train because I'm starting to not take him seriously. They keep telling me that he's this dominant, dangerous person. He's the next up and coming guy, but he keeps losing. He keeps losing matches that he shouldn't be losing at all. Like, I get the Obafemi match, even though I thought it was dumb to have him face Obafemi in his first match anyway. But you have him lose to Oba, fine. Then you have him lose to Inamura, the #1 contender against Obafemi, which I don't understand why you even did that, but sure. Then you have him lose to Javon Evans with a rib injury, mind you. Like, I don't know what it is about WWE and rib injuries with their baby faces constantly having to fight through injuries and still win. I don't understand the reasoning. I don't understand the logic, because all it does is makes the heel look more weak. I don't get it. Look, if he loses another match cleanly, by the way, yeah, I'm off the Joshua Troy train, because I like Joshua Troy. He has the upside, but you can't keep having him lose matches and keep telling me he's this dominant, dangerous, up-and-coming guy when all he does is lose. Like, I can't take him seriously. So I'm hoping in the future that they fix this, but I have no faith if they're just going to keep having him lose matches that he should be winning. I just don't understand the logic there. But Javon Evans picks up the victory, and I like Javon Evans a lot, but he should not have won this match. Like, he has the rib injury. That was the perfect excuse you had for him to lose, to have him come back, heal up, and then beat him. No, you have him still beat him for whatever reason. But Joshua Troy, I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't understand what they're doing with him, but Javon Evans picks up the victory. Now we get Izzy Dane versus Soroka for the Women's North American Championship. This match was fine. This was a solid match. You had some involvement from Tatum Paxley. She was trying to help Izzy Dane. Towards the end of the match, you end up getting a moment where Tatum Paxley puts Izzy Dane's foot on the ropes, preventing her from getting pinfall. But then you end up getting Zarya ends up spearing Tatum Paxley. This allowed Soroka to take advantage to pick up the victory to retain her North American Women's Championship. I'm assuming this is the end of the feud, because I don't know where else this can really go, because the whole story involvement is really around Tatum Paxley. But Tatum Paxley has clearly shown her loyalty lies with Izzy Dane, so I'm assuming Soroka will move on to different things. And me personally, I think it's time for us to go back to the Zarya heel turn. I think that's the only thing for Soroka to do, to be honest with you. She has other opponents, but I think we really need to start teasing the Zarya and Soroka breakup, because this story, there's not really much for it to go, especially if you're just going to have Izzy Dane just lose, which I do think is the right choice. So I think this is the end of the feud here. I think it should be the end of the feud here. Have Izzy and Tatum move on to different things and tell the story of Zarya and Soroka. That's the route I would go, but we'll see how this all plays out. Now we get Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page for the North American Championship. This match was really good. This was a really good match and a Fall Counts Anywhere match. Really enjoyed this match. This match was everything it needed to be. Very chaotic, very wild. Really loved this match. We had some very sick spots. We had them fighting in the crowd. They was fighting in the concession stand. We had one moment where Ethan Page recreated how he injured Ricky Saints with the throat injury, with him putting the steel chair in between his throat and ends up pushing him towards the ring post. I really enjoyed that. We ended up getting a moment where Ricky Saints ended up power bombing Ethan Page through like 4 tables. That was very sick. I know that had to hurt. Getting power bombed through any object has to hurt. We had another moment where Ethan Page ends up doing like a suplex on like a guardrail toward it was leaning against the turnbuckle. He ends up doing like a suplex on the guardrail, which ended up bending, which I thought was sick. But towards the end of the match, they're fighting towards the entrance ramp. They're going back and forth, and then you end up, the side of they're fighting towards like the side of like the entrance ramp or whatever, and you end up getting Ethan Page getting the upper hand, and he ends up hitting an eagle's edge on a table. He ends up tossing Ricky Saints, throws him on the table, picks up the victory, which I was very surprised by. I did not expect Ethan Page to pick up the victory. He ends up retaining. He is still your North American champion, and I like this choice because I said personally that there's nowhere for Ricky Saints to go if he gets the championship back. There's just more opponents for Ethan Page if he retains. You got guys like Javon Evans, Miles Bourne, Tavion Heights. There's not really any heels for Ricky Saints to face because NXT hasn't built up any heels. The only heel you can possibly do is really Lexis King and maybe Jasper Troy if they really want to pull the trigger. But it's easier to build up baby faces to overcome the heel than there is a heel trying to overcome a babyface. It's just easier to tell a story to get behind a babyface chasing after Ethan Page than there is a heel chasing after Ricky Saints. Because Ricky Saints is over with the crowd. It's going to be very hard to try to tell a convincing heel that will be hated enough and that makes sense credibility-wise to face Ricky Saints, where you could really build up any babyface to really go after Ethan Page and it could be believable. It's just easier to build up babyfaces to go after Ethan Page. I do think this would be the end of the rivalry because this was a Fall Count Anywhere match. And Ethan Page won cleanly. It was no interferences from the Vanity Project. So Ricky Saints has really no excuse to say he cheated or whatever. So I think this should be the end of the feud. And I think Ethan Page should hold on to that title because there's no one that should really deserve it. So you could just build up a random babyface to dethrone Ethan Page eventually to elevate, so Ethan Page can elevate him and eventually go to the main roster. But this was a really good match. Really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see what they do with Ethan Page as North American Champion. Now we get the TNA contract signing for the TNA World Championship match at Slammiversary between Joe Hendry, Trick Williams, and Mike Santana. This match, this contract signing played out exactly how I thought it would. Starts off with Mike Santana, basically talking about his respect and his love for the TNA Championship and how, how much he respects it and that Trick Williams doesn't, that Trick Williams just uses it to boost his ego. Then you get Joe Hendry. He responds, ends up mentioning that he should have never lost the title in the first place. Him and Mike Santana are, even though they disagree on a lot of things, they have one common goal, which is a TNA wrestler bringing back the TNA Championship back to TNA. And then you get Trick Williams' response. He basically ends up saying that, look, I'm the TNA champion. I'm the guy. I'm the man, and you guys need to respect it. Then you end up getting Trick Williams. He's about to walk out the ring, but you get Joe Hendry stopping him, says a couple words, and then Mike Santana, they're both have him surrounded, basically. They have him surrounded, and then Mike Santana ends up saying that Trick Williams runs his mouth too much, and then they both ends up powerbombing him through a table, as I predicted, and then you have a stare down between Mike Santana and Joe Hendry. That's literally what I said in my NXT review. I literally said, my NXT, the Great American Bash prediction. I literally said that they was going to powerbomb and put Trick through a table and then have a stare down between the two, which I do think makes the most sense in this situation. Interested to see how that match plays out. I will be watching Slammiversary strictly for that match only. That's the only match I am going to watch. Very interested to see how that plays out because I can see it going either way. I can even see Trick Williams kind of retaining, not really, but I can see High Rise, potentially High Class interfere. So I can see that playing some factor, especially with a triple threat, no disqualification. But very interested to see how that match plays out. We got the NXT Championship match between Oba Femi and Inamura. This was a really good match. Really enjoyed this match. It was a couple moments where I was low-key fearing that they was actually going to have Inamura win this match. There was a couple near falls that I was like, okay, we're getting a little too close to comfort of having him almost being NXT champion. But the story they ended up telling here was, of course, Inamura trying to overcome Oba Femi, of course, but you're also telling the story of Josh Briggs, because Josh Briggs in this match was trying to help Inamura by cheating. It was a moment where Oba Femi ended up attacking the referee while the referee was down, and Inamura ended up attacking Oba Femi with the NXT championship. Inamura ends up seeing him with the NXT championship, and he's, Inamura is trying to do things the right way. He's not trying to cheat. He wants to beat Oba fair and clean. But that, of course, ends up being his undoing because Oba Femi ends up taking advantage, of course, and ends up picking up the victory. There was a segment after the match where Inamura ends up apologizing to Oba for Josh Briggs' interference. Josh Briggs interrupted him and basically ends up saying that he could finish the job himself and that he wants Oba on Tuesday on NXT. So very interested to see where this goes. I'm going to be honest here. I hope it ends here. I hope it ends with Josh Briggs and then Inamura and Josh Briggs feud because, no offense, I do not want to see another Inamura match, even though Oba Femi ends up telling him that he deserves a rematch. No, he does not. He lost. Let it go. Do not run this back. I do not want to see it. It was a good match, a really good match. It's mainly the build I don't want to see again. I do not want to see another Oba Femi and Inamura build. Inamura is a good in-ring talent. Character-wise, I just can't get behind him right now, especially with the promos. Just end it there. But have him beat Josh Briggs and then move on and have them two feud and have Oba move on to different things because we do not need another Inamura Oba Femi match or build. Let that go. But this was a good match overall, and Oba Femi retains. Now we get the main event. Blake Monroe, Jordan Grace versus Fatal Influence with Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley. This was a solid match. It was a solid match, good match. Not really much to explain here. You get interferences from Jasmine Nix as I expected, but you end up getting Sasha Slamovich, if I'm not mistaken, that's her name, the TNA Knockouts Women's Champion. She interferes, ends up preventing Jasmine Nix to interfere. They end up fighting all the way backstage. This allowed the babyfaces to take advantage, and they pick up the victory. Not really much to go here. Blake Monroe picks up the victory in our first NXT match, as I expected, telling the story of Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe continue their friendship. Not really much to tell her. It's really just whether or not she's going to lose. Is Jacy Jayne going to lose tomorrow to Jordynne Grace? Which I am praying that they're not going to do what I think they're going to do, which is Jordynne Grace wins and then Blake Monroe turns heel. Do not do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Like, no, like, I get it. I can understand the logic due to Jordynne Grace being a bigger star. This would make more sense if this was Stephanie Vaquer, due to Stephanie Vaquer actually having real star power, unlike Jordynne Grace. Like, Jordynne Grace is over, but she's not crazy over with the crowd, so that's why I don't really get it. Blake Monroe is arguably more over than Jordynne Grace, so I don't really understand why would we even do that, to be honest, but hopefully that's not the plan. Overall, this show, it was a solid show. It was a good, enjoyable show. Nothing special, but it was a good, enjoyable show from start to finish. You guys let me know your overall thoughts, opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.